Blake, author of the Ancient Illumination series as well as the Yambani Chronicles. I am joined once again by Jocelyn Short.
Hello.
She is a concept artist and illustrator, and she's a creator of the soon to be released comic Bearers. And we are also with Jordan Purnell Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
He's another graphic artist and illustrator. He's a creator of Eve of Insurrection, Eve of Reclamation. He did the illustrations on the Ancient Illumination graphic novels as well as Yambani Chronicles comics. And he also did Growing in the Garden. Or is it Growing in the Garden?
It's growing in the garden.
Growing in the Garden. All
Growing
right.
in the garden.
Today we are back to talk more Loki, specifically season 2, episodes 2 and 3. So spoilers if you have yet to watch that far in the series. And as we were discussing last time we got together, which was pretty funny, Jordan did not somehow, he skipped out on the mid-credit scene for episode 1 where we find Sylvie, and I have to correct myself because I thought it was like 1950s, but it's the 1980s or 82 or 84 McDonald's in it's not the sacred timeline. This is a branch timeline, Oklahoma, in some like random McDonald's. Sylvie's out there just living her best life. In this episode, they capture X5, who is gone rogue and went back to the sacred timeline. I guess he feels he's living out his life he was supposed to have as some actor in some crazy looking like werewolf movie.
What's called Zaniac or something weird like that?
Yeah, he's an actor, but the movie is actually a nod to a character in the comics, in the OG comics, which was pretty neat. But yeah, he gets walked up on by Loki and decides he's going to run off. He tries to play cool at first.
Yeah, with Mobius.
Yeah, with Mobius. They're chit-chatting back and forth, and he starts running. And I was kind of waiting here. I don't know if you guys were. I was like, man, Loki, do some Loki stuff. Like, why are you chasing him around?
Use the magic green hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jazz hands. Come on, Loki. Jazz it up. You got to do the thing, Justin.
Yeah. He runs because is it B12 or B15? I forget what Wumi Osako's number is. But they're not all the same letter and number.
Now we say B12, I'm thinking about vitamin.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's a vitamin.
Yeah, so it's like don't say B12, I was gonna throw it off. That's B15.
B15.
Is the guy they were hunting, is he B5? Is he
He's X5.
X5.
Yeah. So that was funny. She shows up and she's dressed for the times. But if you notice, she puts on an American accent. And he turns around thinking it's somebody like an adoring fan, and she ends up socking him. After he runs from Loki, who had finally used the green jazz hands, as Jordan just said, knocked him down the stairwell, then used his duplication, like his illusions trick, to kind of box him in before he runs off again and try. He like uses his little temp pad to disappear.
Teleport, which is very interesting. I was like,
yeah,
I could do that with that.
He like
phases out.
And he's got one of those. He's got like a modified. You know, they got the little house arrest bracelets. It's usually on someone's neck, but he's wearing it as a watch. And they capture him and go take him back to the TVA because they want to interrogate him to find out where Sylvie is. What do you guys think?
Personally, it was a cool little time period piece. Or just like focusing on like building out that kind of era subtly. And the chasing was pretty cool when I like that Loki used his illusions to kind of trick him. Like that was cool. I was like, yeah, he's finally used magic. And it was also cool that he kind of used the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Like they made him feel a little more like intimidating, which is really cool. Like you kind of see his like horns come out in the shadow. So it was a very like very interesting effect. And I think Mobius even calls out the fact that like, you know, him bringing out the shadows. Yeah. It was enough. So that was a cool little scene.
I agree. I wish I agree with both of you. I just want to see more of Loki being Loki, and him using his powers. Like you said, I really liked the shadow work that was happening there where just you could feel he was more intimidating there. Like I feel like I want the whole show to be like that, but I understand that he does not the whole show to be like that. I
But you
want
want more of that mood, right?
just more because
Okay.
only because I feel like at the end of the last season, um, we kind of saw him realize the extent of his power. Like we saw like a power level that we hadn't seen before with him, and I thought we would see more of it in the show so far. I understand it's not what the circumstances are just yet, so that's fine. I just feel like I'm waiting to see that, and that's fair if they want to keep it in the bag and bring it out like later on for something big. That's all fine and good, but I don't know. I want Loki to do his big one, which is why.
You want more epic Loki.
Yeah, but also I was excited um uh at the interrogation part, because I was just like I was definitely feeling like I really wish they would just let him be a villain for real, like how he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
Before we get to that though, we had another session with OB. Like at the end of episode 1, we fixed the time slipping that Loki was doing, and OB's trying to retrofit this new gadget he's got to help them manage the timelines, and we find out that there's a specific time aura that he needs to override the time loom in order to fit it, and it's He Who Remains time aura. That obviously is going to play a big factor in the episode after this that we're going to discuss. But OB is like freaking out, and that's the other reason why they need to find Sylvie, and why they end up interrogating X5, because they're wondering, well, I was curious about that. Like, did you find her, or did you not find her at first? And did you just decide to say, forget it, I'm just going to go live my best life on the timeline? Because you could see something in his eyes when they were discussing it. And
like he knows something.
Yeah, no, and when B12 was like, because General Dox is like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what your name is. Know your role and shut your mouth. Freaking B15 is like, no, it does matter. You had a life, I had a life, you had a life, all of us had a life, and that was taken from us. And you can see that X5 is taking this to heart. And he really took it to heart, because my boy just decided, okay, I'm gonna go jump in and do my thing that I'm supposed to do on the sacred timeline and be this actor, which I thought was pretty funny. But the interrogation scene was interesting in that the initial attempt, you think it's going to be Loki at first, that kind of loses it because X5 is pushing his buttons. But the accusation he gives him, we have to remember, is not all him. When he mentions the stuff, remember, he's taken out of the timeline in 2012 Avengers film. The specific Loki that we have is the one that picked up the Tesseract when they're trying to get all the Infinity Stones for before Endgame. So it's this Infinity War. I think when they're Endgame, when they're trying to go back and get them, that's when he takes, because that's the reason they have to use the PIM technology to go back the second time, because they didn't have everything. They needed the PIM particles to do that. So this isn't the same Loki. He's the one that basically started the war with the Chitauri sent by Thanos in New York. That's that Loki. But then when he's in chains and leaves with the Tesseract, he's pretty much taken out of the timeline all that time.
You're like taking me back. We're talking about, are we, Jesus. Now I'm thinking about the scene where we see Loki being transported or going down the stairway. That scene, I was like, that scene.
That's the one we have for this show, because so everything that's happened after that isn't really part of his story. So the terrible things that was done thereafter in the other were other variants of Loki, basically. And so everything he's accusing him of, it doesn't necessarily fall to him, but for whatever reason, I guess because of his jacket within the TVA, they have all the things cataloged that the various variants did. And he's just getting credit for everything, according to X5. Like, you're a really crappy person, is basically what he says. You want to embrace you being a villain. Why do you keep trying to be the hero? Every time you guys try to be the hero, you mess stuff up. Like that's all you're good at. So why not just lean into it? And yeah, Jocelyn, the second attempt, he goes ahead and leans into it, and we don't realize at first that it's a con. Uh, although I kind of felt like I knew
I
it
think
was a con because
we all knew.
Mobius starts calling X5 Brad when he's banging on the door, and like he wasn't calling him Brad.
Got a little bread. But yeah, that scene was interesting because I'm like, I had a feeling. I was like, man, Loki ain't gonna squash this man in this box. He's not gonna do it. But I was actually surprised of like how compacted he actually got the box to be. And
Yeah.
I was kind of fixated on that because I was imagining the box was gonna get smaller, and stay on the ground.
Yeah.
But when it actually like collapsed this way and he was floating, I was like, impressive. I'm impressed. I like that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you got a little tension here. You got this man, X5 shook. He gonna snitch. He gonna
Yeah, you know he's gonna give it up after a while. I like how Loki was playing like he didn't know how to work it. And he's like, trial and error. We gonna figure this out together. Me and you.
It was.
Up, yeah.
That one made it smaller. Yes.
Yeah.
We need more Jocelyn accents, please.
Yeah, that was a good scene, and then they finally go back after he finally gives up the goods. He promised, and I find it interesting that they wanted to take him with them. Like, why not just go there and leave him there, and then come back if he's lying? Because any opportunity to run, I think he's going to take it. Mm-hmm. What were you about to say, Jocelyn?
I was just thinking. I mean, I figured they took him with him because if he was going to escape and they did it under their watch, I feel like that maybe is a little better than if they would just let them behind and he tried to escape, and it's just like, well, now we have no idea where he even went,
Yeah. I thought they were going to put him in the torture room that Loki was put in before, where he had to like relive one horrible moment, like just over and over and over again. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that.
Yeah, when they place him in the memory where he's back on Asgard, and he just keeps getting pimp slapped. I thought they were just going to do that to him. They were going to find some memory of X5 that he didn't like and just make him relive that over and over until he gave up the goods. Because it kind of brings up a point where, because he was a part of TVA, he knows all of their traditional interrogation standard procedures. So when they walk into the room the first time, he's already prepared for what they're going to say, how they're going to say it, and what their tactics are going to be. So it's basically ineffectual, and he just basically tries to get under both of their skins, and surprisingly to me, it ends up being Mobius. Because why do you think he doesn't want to look at his life? Like, he doesn't even want to. He's not curious at all.
Because he's gonna find out he's media. He's just a regular guy. I don't know. He's not special. That's my go-to.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I get this sense that the TVA, like Mobius takes his job seriously. Clearly, it provides him purpose. So I feel like if he were to see other things, it would basically disrupt this belief that he has of himself. That's the sense that I get.
I'm surprised his belief isn't already more shaken given the gravity of everything.
I mean, some people are that they've drank that much of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, it's someone like is it Morbius or Mobius?
Mobius.
I want to call him Morbius every time, but I'm like, it's not the vampire.
It's not Morbin time no more. Yeah.
It's not Morbin time. That's right.
Not Morbin time. It's Moby time.
It's Moby time. That's correct. I think Mobius, like you said, he's on a mission. I think, because he's good at his job and he cares a lot about his job. That's one part of it. But, a part of his job or that he's maybe internalized, like you got to finish the task at hand. So I think that's just his only thing. Maybe not his only thing, but like a main thing for him of just keeping his eyes like focused, even with all of this, everything else crashing around him. He's like, well, I got to be the tent pole here to keep us going forward on the right track. because it that makes me think of I won't jump too far ahead. I know we'll get there, but it reminds me of what Ravenna,
Ravona,
yeah,
Renslayer.
what she said at the end about
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and okay. So we get to Sylvie, and my girl, for whatever reason, living her idea of living her best life is being like this full-time manager at freaking McDonald's, even though she's working the front
1980s
register.
McDonald's.
But yeah, she's working the register, but she seems to be over John or Jack.
That one kid.
Yeah, well, Jack, whatever the hell his name is, and they find her just like chilling. And I find this incredibly annoying, mainly because I don't think she should be that naive. And then, like, are you? My whole time when I see the conflicts with Sylvia, I'm like, you can't be this dumb. You know what you guys just did. You went all the way to the end of time at the end of season 1. You killed He Who Remains. He told you what was going to happen.
She completed her mission though. She's not naive. She's just like, I did what I did. I said what I said. I'm chilling. Thanos hung the coat up, hung the gauntlets up when he did what he did.
But you know there's going to be, it's, to me, you know there are consequences coming for that though. And so you just, that's it. You're just going to go live your life in McDonald's and flip burgers.
I mean, and she'll probably fight somebody when time comes. She got to keep the act up. She got to keep the charade up. She's in this. She's now she's now the lead fry cook at McDonald's. You know, that's what she wants.
That's super crazy, and she's acting like she don't care. Like when they tell her what's going on, she's like, I don't care.
I don't care.
The TVA is broken, and you can just let it burn. I'm like, you do realize if you let that burn, like it's like you setting the match on the fire on the house that you're sitting in, and you'd be like, well, if it burns, it burns. Sorry, that's a wrap. That's stupid.
I mean, I think that's just I can't think of immediate examples right now. I'm sure there are, but I feel like that could be a Loki character flaw where like you do stuff and you know it has consequences, but you're just like, well, I don't care. I don't want to think about it anymore.
It's the basis of a trickster.
Yeah.
I think it would feel better. I think it would feel better though, to me anyway, if she just point blank said, I don't believe him. That makes more sense. Like, you know, he was manipulated. He Who Remains is a manipulator. He's been lying about all this stuff. I don't trust his word. He was just trying to scare us.
That too. I also want to correct myself. Not so much that she doesn't care, but just that she doesn't want to care. Like,
that's a choice.
Yeah.
That's an actual intentional choice.
Yeah. Like I think she just doesn't want to care, but cares a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I think that's true for our Loki as well. Like, or not at this point in his journey, but like in the movies and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, yeah. You notice though that when they argue about everything, and then is this the episode where they finally catch the rogue hunters that were trying to blow everything up? Or is that the next episode?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, that's this episode.
That was cool. I like
that. Yeah. So she finally shows up when stuff is starting to hit the fan with them, and then they blow up a bunch of the timelines. And if you recall, in season 1, the roles were reversed, where Sylvie went through a portal and doesn't even look back, you know, at Loki. Like, either you can come with me and we can do this, or I don't really care if you do. But she leaves it up to him, and she just walks through. And here, in the aftermath of that scene, we see the same thing played out, except for it's Loki going back to the TVA and then looking at her like, yo, you can either come with us, you know, you done made your choice, but we're opening this door. And he steps through the portal, but he doesn't be like, come on, are you coming or anything? He just looks over his shoulder and then he walks through. And then we see, of course, she makes the choice to walk through. And they're so up in arms and out of control that they don't even, because you remember, this is the person they were all after at first with Sylvie. And here it is, she's walking back on her own volition into the den that was trying to get her before. So it was interesting to see all that unfold.
Yeah, I think on initial watch, I thought it was very interesting how like these different factions or I guess groups within the TVA were having their own kind of solutions to the problem.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was cool. They're like, oh, General Docs was like took it upon herself to be like, we just gonna blow up other timelines. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I can respect that. You made your decision. Everybody else is like, wait a second, no, don't do that. So I thought it was very interesting, kind of like conflict to have within an organization, just to have a riff. I thought it was pretty cool. And we had some cool action scenes. Loki did some magic. He pulled. I remember. I vividly. I don't know why this one popped out. I just remember him pulling somebody out of like they were about to go through a doorway. He like pulled them out.
Yeah, and he threw a pruning stick at somebody. Like
yes,
he activated his.
That was no. There was no power behind it though. That was just a normal throw. That wasn't anything fancy. But yeah, he threw that pruning stick. But it was cool little fights, cool little things. What happened in that one?
They did the
team up.
Grab, yeah, and did the with the shockwave.
Yeah, the shockwave.
Yeah, don't think too much about it.
Oh yeah, they held hand. Oh.
Yeah, they're more powerful when they hold hands.
Oh my god, that's what I forgot. That's what I was like. I remember the explosion, but I forgot the cause of it, which was they had to hold hands.
Yeah.
Stupid. Now that just irritated me. Sorry, it's a very raw emotion. Everyone's getting live. Yeah, that was kind of goofy, but whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel very conflicted about their relationship. Like, I understand.
Together?
No,
I mean, hate each other. No, what is happening? I'm joking.
No, I understand that it's an exploration of like the relationship he has with himself, but it's really weird. And I mean, maybe that's the point, but it's weird.
Yeah,
weird.
It's just really strange. I'm like,
I'm in love with myself.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was pissed last season. We probably have that on record somewhere. Yeah. Where I was like, why did this happen? This is weird.
Yeah, I was like, what is this kiss? Like, you could
what?
Just hug. Y'all could hug.
Yeah. Yeah, a little platonic hug there.
So I don't know.
Anybody tripping on Ouroboros too? How he's just like so matter of factly, like we're all gonna die.
He's great.
I like it.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Yeah.
I like.
Do you think this is a cycle though? Because Ouroboros is kind of analogous to the Jormungandr, the snake that's eating itself, or in other cultures, it's infinity. Like things are supposed to just happen over and over again. What if this isn't the ultimate end, that the TVA gets destroyed and then just somehow is reborn and the cycle starts again?
I would love that. And he is this dude who's eternal almost, like practically eternal. So it would make sense. Oh, now this is making me think of the dumb movie. What was the one with the celestial beings?
Eternals?
Eternals, yep.
And
how they were robots living in a cycle. And so, I mean, it would be very on brand if there was a cyclical kind of reincarnation brought into the kind of Marvel cinematic universe, with the TVA being just this is a cyclical thing that happens. I would like that actually.
Yeah. I kind of view him as just like time itself. Like I feel like he's the representation of time itself in the show, and so him being matter of fact. It like I feel like in these couple of episodes, I heard him be like maybe slightly more worried as he's like delivering news, but like it's still very straightforward and matter of fact. And like to me, that's just time itself. It's gonna go on anyway. He's not apathetic necessarily, but just very direct about like, hey, this is gonna happen.
I'm kind of flummoxed as to why he's not more confident, given he's the only one there that hasn't had his memory wiped. Like Mobius doesn't.
He's not God. It's not like he can.
No, I'm saying, but I mean, he's an eternal fixture there. He was there, kind of like before the TVA. Wrote the handbook of the TVA. I love how a boy Clay was fanboying. Like, could you sign my copy in the midst of?
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yeah,
but he hasn't had his memory wiped, so he should have an ongoing, consistent stream of information that he knows and can pull from. And if this is, in fact, a cyclical thing, then that may be part why. Maybe it's subconscious that he's just not worried, but he's matter of fact. Well, yeah, we're all going to die. But it's just like, it's just Tuesday. It doesn't really matter because he knows what's going to happen. So yeah, they arrest the rogue hunters, and now we see at the end, I think, of the episode, the timelines have been cut off, but it's still out of control and can't be controlled by the loom. And then we get to the next episode, which is kind of cool because we get Ravonna Renslayer back. So we're going to episode 3 with Victor Timely. The variant, the Kang variant.
Kang.
That I think Kang, we was Kangs.
I was so happy to see him, by the way.
Yeah.
It was like, we thought this man was canceled.
Yeah.
He's back. He's back with the stutter.
Yeah. And my wife was talking about it when we watched the show. She was like, they would have had a very difficult time trying to excise him from this. He's so integral to everything now. Had they actually gone through and canceled him, it would have been hard to kind of weave this thing out of the plot that they had. They would have to come up with something new, and we know how that goes. We get subpar stuff and they have to last minute cut and replace stuff on the fly. It does not work out well. But we see Ravonna Renslayer stepping out. And this, I believe, is the last point we saw her. This is like an exact cut into from the last point we see her in season 1, where she steps through the door. And now she's stepping out of that door because she's got the same TVA uniform, the kerchief around her neck and everything, the burgundy blazer, when she steps into the sacred timeline in Chicago in the 1800s before the World's Fair that's going to happen in Chicago. And she meets up with another entity we haven't seen in a long time, Miss Minutes. Oh, freaky self.
Played by Tara Strong.
Yeah, this was such a weird episode because of how this ended up with Miss Minutes. I was like, what is happening? Why? You thought the Loki on Loki stuff was weird. This is
all weird.
It's
so weird.
A southern sounding white woman who's like, I want to be a person. I want to be your girl. Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't.
Has
there been any successful Marvel romance? Maybe Marvel's just not great at it.
Okay, that might be. But this isn't a romance per se, because obviously it was unrequited. That's the reason why Miss Minutes has the problem she does. But we see Ravonna meet up with Miss Minutes, and I'm starting to question whose plan this is, because she is saying, Miss Minutes is saying that this is He Who Remains backup plan. Just take this book and drop it into that window, and then things will just flow from there. So they change. We see a little boy who black boy, the baby Kang, Victor Timely, who's a candlestick maker in 1840s Chicago, gets this package. And at first it's not revealed what it is that she drops, but turns out that she drops the TVA handbook off to this little kid. And then he gets the things that he's seeing in his dreams, his ideas for inventions. He becomes some confident swindler,
con man of sorts.
And it splinters, it branches that timeline, because when they go back, it's no longer the sacred timeline. When we see Loki and Mobius, when they're introduced to get him, remember, it was introduced as first as sacred.
Yeah, they say that they actually said that on the title card, and I was like, I missed that on the second card.
So when they go back and see him 25 years later as a grown man, it's now a branched timeline. So I'm wondering, like, who planted that Kang variant? Because He Who Remains mentions that they're all from the 31st century. So I'm thinking during the Kang Wars, where all the Kangs were fighting, are there a bunch of these baby Kangs just dropped as sleeper cell backup plans for each one to use in case something happens?
Oh my God.
And the reason why I'm questioning whether or not this was actually his plan is I think maybe this one was done specifically by Miss Minutes to be a more malleable version of He Who Remains, not as confident, not that needs some guidance. So because she says to Renslayer, he will be all that we need him to be, when really she's talking about
what
all
you
that,
need him to be.
Yeah, all that I want him to be.
You want to make your body and give you babies.
Yeah, it was, So we get to
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see this. We get a little bit more Loki stuff as Loki and Mobius kind of come upon him at the same time, or a little bit after. Renslayer's already there with Miss Minutes in her handbag, talking to her, and people looking at her crazy because it looks like she's just talking to a pocketbook and she won't let her out the bag. I'm like, but why would you let her out the bag? Like, I don't know what Miss Minutes is thinking. Like, you don't technically exist in that form at that time. Nothing like you would have. So yeah, you would probably freak people out later.
They were already
But
calling her a ghost.
Yeah. Oh, and that was a subtle detail I did not catch the first on my second watch. When they go to when they go to the 1860s and they're questioning why did Renslayer come here, and then they decide to jump further because Mobius like we got other options or whatever. So I liked first of all I like that scene of how they like just walk down the alleyway, portal opens up, they transition straight into the future, and then picks up the newspaper and it literally says like it shows a picture of Miss Minutes as this like giant ghost in the newspaper, and I was like, oh, okay, now this makes sense what happens later in that episode.
Did you peep the color swap with Miss Minutes as I think a homage to the OG Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I wasn't surprised.
Also,
this will make me blend in if I don't have color. I was like, okay, that sounds weird. I just said that aloud, but yeah, she turned into gray or white.
Yeah. Speaking of Steamboat Willie, I don't know if y'all felt like this, but like the chase scenes and stuff with the music.
Oh yeah.
The old timey,
real goofy. Real goofy.
It felt so silly. It felt like Kingdom Hearts. It felt I don't know.
Yeah, they had the old timey Loki music, the old timey Marvel's theme music, where they introduced the show.
That was cool. I thought
on brand.
Cool.
Oh, I mean, I just want to get back to Jonathan Majors' performance.
We can talk about that. I don't know about the stuttering. I know he's supposed to be a different.
Weird.
What do you mean?
Like, what is
it was so weird. That's how I know he was acting. I was like,
yeah, I was
Jonathan
just like,
Majors acting. Like, why are you stuttering? Like he was trying to. It was as if he was trying to figure out how. Like he didn't know what he was saying. Like when he was talking about voltage and wattage and like the time loom, he's like, this man sounded like he didn't rehearse this. Like he was playing that character so well. Victor Timely, almost in a way, like he's not truly confident in what he's saying, but then he has like the pizzazz and the showmanship to throw everyone off.
It felt like a caricature of that kind of character.
Yeah. Which made it interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you found it interesting because I thought he was going to start talking.
I was dying laughing.
I thought he was going to start talking like the boxer from Harlem Nights. You finna be one rich because come someday I'm knocking somebody out. That's what I was waiting on. I'm like, come on, man. He was doing a bit much. But that's why I think this was actually Miss Minutes' sleeper cell, because so that she could manipulate him into being what we see this presentation where he has a miniature of like an older version, but a miniature of the time loom, but he's making it seem like a big like Tesla coil type thing where he can power not just the city but the entire world. And then it was slick though. He got his boy to jump in on the bidding that really wasn't trying to bid on nothing.
Yeah.
And so, and then he runs into somebody he swindled with some pants supposed to make it taller.
That was so funny. He got shorter. He's like,
oh.
And why did he start leaning down? Yeah, he started leaning down when he saw people.
Like,
I'll just come to your house. I'll check out the settings. But you look great. You look fine to me.
Next week. And the dude's like, okay, next week. And I'm like, yo, this is hilarious.
It was like, yeah, you can come. Yeah. Yeah. That sounds like a great idea. That's no problem.
And then
he's basically a charlatan, a little hustler and swindler out there with these little technical gadgets that he just can't get to work right because he doesn't have access to the tech yet. It hasn't been developed. Nothing like that exists to him fully reach his potential there. And then we get the chase scene with the various people trying to get him. And then Loki almost gets into a fight with the big dude, and he just makes him get in. You like teleports him into the cage of the magic. You guys, the Loki
Magic
stuff teleports him into the cage of pigs, and they end up having it out as they're chasing them around. Miss Minutes and Ravonna Renslayer escape with Victor Timely, and they finally tell him, pretty much what's going on. And you can see there's a chemistry starting to build between Ravonna Renslayer and Victor Timely. And I wasn't for sure because it's a cartoon character kind of Miss Minutes, but I could tell she was kind of rolling her eyes a little too much when you could see the chemistry.
They show that when they're on the boat. Like she does this weird look away. I'm like, this is very awkward.
She was like, I don't know, I don't like this development.
I don't like what I'm seeing. This black love. So it was just kind of funny that I thought it was really funny when Victor's like where he when they kind of get settled or whatever you want to call it, like they go to one of his other houses, his safe house. I'll call it safe house for now. He has a working invention, the refrigerator chair.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, this is funny. So was he saying that the chair cushion gets to 40 degrees?
Yeah.
That's a weird temperature. But cold butts, I guess. Guess you want a cold butt. But then he pulls out the soda on the drink on the side. I was like, hey, that was cool.
And that might have been the Coca-Cola that had the Coke in it still.
Yeah, boy.
That's the one.
You're like, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, get you a sip of this here, girl. You be feeling all right.
Okay, you trying. Listen.
So yeah, she was still, and she was
cold, but you finna be hot in just a minute, okay?
Yeah. She was throwing shade though. Miss Minutes was like, yeah, and you delivered it, and she was like, you delivered it like the mailman delivered, like you was just doing your job basically. I was like, damn. So yeah, then they end up having to break wide because the people that he done swindled and caught up to him at the hideout.
Yeah, the
spot.
Baron.
And they have to leave again, which I think the Baron was supposed to be like the Edison, Thomas Edison. He was slick back in the day with the patents. He would get the patents for stuff and steal people's inventions, and then because he held the patents legally after it was filed, you couldn't really do nothing. That's what I think there was an amalgam to him. What they were trying to
call
do
back
with
to Edison.
Baron. And I think there was actually a person in history named Baron too as well back in the day.
There's always a Baron.
Yeah, but they escape. You go to my other safe house, my other laboratory. It's in Wisconsin, and she's like, Wisconsin. He's like, yeah, better taxes or something.
Yeah, he did say that. I'm like, yo, tax evasion.
Yeah, it was interesting too because of the times, like a black person being an inventor in the 1800s, when like we didn't get very much credit for anything back then. Like stuff was stolen, so it was wild that he had all those inventions, and in fact he had to navigate. And they give the hint when old boy tries to be a partner when he says, "I don't do partners." But notice he didn't stutter when he said no. That part he was like no. He was like a definite no. It wasn't no stutter to it. No,
you're not gonna play me.
I don't do partners.
Yeah, and that was something I was a little nervous about. When we think about like Victor Timely being a black person in the 1890s, like in that time period, I was like, in my head, I was like, I feel like I just wanted a tinge level more racism because it is fresh out of its.
Disney tends to pick and choose how much racism you're gonna see in any given thing that they put out.
And it was funny because on initial watch, I wasn't paying attention to the to the location, the credits, and because in my head I was like, when I thought of the World Fair, I didn't think of the American world. Like I didn't think of the fact that the World Fair actually was in America. I thought my brain was like, oh, we're like in London or somewhere, so like maybe it'd be a little different. But like no, we're in Chicago, so technically, I feel like there should be a little more of some like some good old fashioned American racism happening.
It was kind of they hinted at it because he said, "What would you know about time, boy?"
Yeah, they hit it with
that
a boy, and I was like,
that hard beat.
okay.
Yeah, he hit the hard boy. Yeah, that boy was
That
hard.
hard beat.
That boy was hard. That boy.
Mhm.
And I like I like how he smoothly clapped back, and then he gives it more than you would think. You know, 'cause he didn't outright say, "I know a damn bit more than you do, fool." He just the more
Right.
than you would think.
And
And
I was
everybody,
like,
because everybody was like, huh, "Is he going?" And then, like,
What's he gonna say next?
yeah, because it was after he just said that, it'd been like, "Get a rope," and it'd have been over. And it was like, "Oh man, it's about to be a problem up in here." But he kind of he tailed off at the end, didn't go at him quite as hard as he could have. Yeah, so they escape and go to his lab in Wisconsin, and they're gonna go by riverboat, which was interesting. And did you notice that he says when he approaches them, he says, "My normal accommodations."
Yes, and I had some.
They were
about
in the,
what
I
that
think
meant.
what they were doing, they were basically stowing away. If you look, they're not in like a cabin, they're a stowaway on the lifeboats, which is when Renslayer tries to cozy up to him and mention partnership, and then he gets that look in his eye again. The next thing you know, she fell asleep, and they basically let the lifeboat go. So yeah, I think that was his way of traveling for free. By instead of purchasing a ticket, he had a hookup where he would go chill out in the lifeboat and get a free ride up the river or the lake. I don't know if it's Lake Michigan or one of the Great Lakes from Illinois to Wisconsin, and then he would just be on his way. So yeah, she's trying to cozy up. Miss Minutes is still hating when they're having their
giving that side eye. He didn't he give her like an origami paper flower or something? Some type of thing. They started kind of touching hands.
Yeah.
Miss Minutes was looking salty. I'm like,
yeah, she was looking salty, and then Ravoda made the mistake of mentioning partnership.
I love the facial expression.
And that's when he kind of nervously looked over with his, looked at her all crazy and slowly took his hand away, with his little Frederick Douglass haircut, and licked her off. And
the Douglas, he got the Douglas.
And then he's like, "No." And then the next thing you know, she's floating down and wakes up as the boat's being dropped, and them looking off. And Miss Minnie's like, "You had to do it. You heard it."
You had to do it. She's totally like manipulating him, but it's great. That's why I want her to be I actually really want her to be the one that's in control.
She probably is.
Oh, we're gonna get to. Oh, we gotta.
I don't understand why. Well, they probably don't know. Well, they do now. Mobius and Loki know that Renslayer and Miss Minutes were at least in cahoots when they initially run into them.
Yes.
And I wouldn't trust Miss Minutes to come back and fix the room because she has administrative power and could help, but she's probably going to throw big monkey wrenches into the whole plans if you let her back. You can't, and she can go anywhere. That's why I don't understand why she wants a body, because I think she's going to lose some of that autonomy with the body. She'd need like some type of tempad or some way of traveling in the physical body, whereas as an AI, she has free reign to go and come as she please in and out of all the timelines.
Well, with a body she can feel. She want to feel.
She wants to be felt. Yeah, she want to be a human.
Feel good.
Lord,
feel good.
Do something make me feel better. I don't. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I think. Yeah, so then they get back to his lab, and Miss Minutes explaining more, and then she's like reminiscing on them playing games. We used to play chess and play games back in the day. It was just me and you before the TVA, before anything.
She said the multiverse wars. They just dropping gems here.
She was said all through the eons you used to talk to me. I was there when it was nobody else, and it was just you and me. And she said, "But you would never give me nobody. And I don't know. You didn't even try to give me nobody, and you could just try."
Yeah, you ain't even tried. You never tried. And then when she put it was creepy as hell. When she put her face on the mannequin.
Oh yeah, her orange little skin was like mirroring up with the face. I was like,
what I could really be is your girl.
Oh, and I'm like,
no, Miss
and
Minutes,
he like grabs the 10 bell. Oh,
yeah.
what?
jerked back and then zapped her
And she
into
said,
the
"I
temp
love
pad.
you." You can hear her saying, "I love you." I'm like,
She gets she finishes that line when she pops back
oh,
out.
yeah. I was like, yikes.
Because
Really,
Renslayer shows up, where you can see we have like an earlier version of one of the pruning sticks that's still
Oh, that
hooked
was
up. Like,
cool. It was like a gun almost.
yeah, it was like a Gatling gun pruning stick that she's threatening to use. And then the rest of them show up. Sylvie and Loki and Mobius, they pop in there. They're all gonna fight, and Sylvie is dead set on killing him. And then eventually, I think only thing that kind of saves him, I think, is what Victor Timely says, and the fact that she was in the exact same predicament when she's trying to plead with Renslayer. Like when she's a little girl, she's like, "What could I have done? I didn't do anything yet." And Renslayer in the flashback is like, "I don't even remember. Like she doesn't remember what you did. I just know you did something, and you're a variant. You're a Loki. That means you got to go.
Get him out of
So,
here."
in the end, I think that's part of why she gives Victor Timely a reprieve, because he voices the fact that I can make my own decisions. I don't have to do whoever you just killed is not me, and I can make my own decisions. And she's like, "You better not make me regret this, and I'll handle her." So they take Victor Timely back to the TVA, and then looks back, and then it's just, I thought she was going to kill Renslayer at first, and so I'll handle her. And so, you wanted to go to the end of the time, I'm gonna give you your wish. And she kicks her through the door, sending her back to the end of time where Elias was there. But when did Renslayer get the temp pad that Victor Timely had captured Miss Minutes with? Because she lets her out there at the end, and that's when she finishes the "I love you."
Oh, she did. That's a good question. I mean, there was a lot of chaos happening when Loki did Magic Hands explosion, and so she could have picked it up, and we just didn't see it, which is valid, which is fine. That was what I just coasted on with. I was accepting of it.
I just assumed she just grabbed it.
Yeah.
During that, so at some point after she had that conversation with Sylvie in that room, after Mobius and Loki and Victor went through the door.
Yeah, I may have to rewatch it and see when exactly she comes to possession of that temp pad. Because I remember them talking back and forth, but most of the time, she had like I said, the OG pruning stick in her hand, threatening the whole time. So I didn't see when she had a chance to pick that up. Sylvie kicks her through the door. I guess that's Sylvie's go-to move, is the Sparta kick you through the door.
Oh yeah, she loved doing that.
One when Loki's trying to explain, she kicks to Mobius is like, "I'd ask you who won that fight, but obviously she kicked you through the door, then I don't have to."
Right.
He's like, "No, we did it at the same time. You both kicked each other through the door?" Like, no. He's like, "Okay, well then yeah, you lost." So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. I think the next episode comes out on the 26th, at 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yeah, so I guess the following Monday, we'll chop it up again about this, because now I think Miss Minutes is being set up to be the true big bad, and I think Renslayer is just playing her role till she can get out of the conundrum that she's in currently, and I think eventually Renslayer comes back around. She says so. Miss Minutes is claiming she knows a secret about Renslayer that's going to make her really, really angry. And they cut us off before she gets a chance to tell us and her what that secret is. Obviously, I think it's going to be the fact that she's been betrayed by He Who Remains in the end. We have the recording of him talking about how good it was to work with her and be a partner. He does say with you, like basically like working with you. I don't know if he says partnership, but actually the way he words it alludes to that kind of relationship of them ruling the TVA together. But I think in the end, he wipes her memory and then cuts her off. So she's just basically a high level administrator, but not on his level within the organization at the end. And maybe that's part of what Miss Minutes is going to tell her and reveal that he did before he was killed, obviously. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think you think Miss Minutes is going to get a body?
I need her to, after all this.
I was thinking she was going to try and take Renslayer's body.
Oh, interesting.
Body, I mean, it's one that you already like. We know you already like this body.
I hope that happens.
I know you like this body.
I hope that happens. I
Really?
hope that's real. I want that to be real. That's weird and cool.
Is this what you wanted?
I saw you like this. Don't you like this? I know you like this. Why don't you come over here and just give a little touch, a little taste? I think you like it.
Look, ain't my face pretty? It ain't got no hands of the clock on it no more.
I'm not.
That mannequin was just a test run.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens next. It'll be interesting to see. Perhaps for other co-hosts, if she catches up, she may join us next week.
Andrea, you've been
Yeah,
missed.
if Andrea catches up. She said this week she hadn't watched all the episode, but it'll be cool. So hopefully that happens. Get some more opinions on the show. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Jocelyn and Jordan, for taking the time out of your day to chop it up about these
No
things.
problem.
I see a couple lurkers have been in on the live. About a little eyeball icon. There's two. There's been three. Another one just popped back in.
Uh-oh.
Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to listen to us talk about these things. We will be back next week, Monday, to chop it up again about Loki. We're halfway through the season now. 3 more episodes. Is it me or they're getting shorter? I thought like 8 was the thing. Now it's 6.
It does feel short.
You know what I learned recently? Apparently the people who've been like writing these shows like are not showrunners. Like they're not people who've written for shows, but they've written for movies.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot.
It all adds up.
Yeah, I heard they're supposed to be getting each show now. Disney's supposed to be giving everybody a showrunner.
Yeah.
Again now, and then the writing strike is over with, so hopefully that ups the quality of what we get.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's it. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate all the viewers that came in. This will be up on Spotify for podcast, the Askari Cast. So if you go on Spotify, please, if you like what we're doing, go ahead and subscribe. We need a few more subscribers so we can get our sponsorships back. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
See ya. Peace.